Hello, dear friends. My name is Sofya Dorinskaya. I am a doctor, head of the Medical Information Center. At this center, we test for nutritional deficiencies and help people correct those deficiencies. Also, as you understand, I am leading a blog on the YouTube channel Evidence-Based Medicine. And today I would like to answer questions that came from my dear viewers. The questions are varied, and I think it will be interesting. So recently, Olga Maltseva asked a question. It's interesting, you said that textbooks are designed in such a way that children learn poorly. But why? Is it beneficial for the country to have fools? Undoubtedly, for some countries, it is very beneficial to have fools because it is very easy to control stupid people. Moreover, a person can be made foolish. Even if a person is born with normal intelligence, is normal in every respect, develops normally, still a person, through education, poor quality, illiterate education, a person can be made foolish, dull, and narrow-minded. Why is this done? This is done so that any idea can be implanted into a person's mind, and so that the person is not accustomed to critically evaluating the information they receive. After all, it's no secret that a good education, one that is understandable to the person, lessons that are structured in such a way that the child achieves success, real success. Specifically, the success when a person realizes that they have understood, they have become aware, they have achieved this victory, they feel smarter, and they are confident in their abilities. A good education leads to a person acquiring the skill of reasoning. After all, we all remember, for example, Lomonosov saying that mathematics brings order to the mind. So, if you stop teaching children mathematics and any mathematical disciplines, algebra, geometry, trigonometry, it doesn't matter. If you stop teaching children these mathematical subjects in such a way that they experience victories, that is, when they are able to solve some simple mathematical problem, or it's already quite common, I would say, and you get the correct answer. In other words, you used all your knowledge and you really feel like a winner. And studying mathematics somehow organizes your thinking, you see? After all, thinking also needs to be trained. When children write an essay, not a dictation, an essay, so they've read some text, some work, whether big or small. If they're little children, they've read a short story, for example, called The Little Sparrow is Flying, and there's some story about this little sparrow. Additionally, this allows the child to reflect deeply on the material they have just finished reading. This practice effectively helps to train the important skill of forming and expressing one's own personal opinion on a subject. Having one's own opinion is a skill. It's a form of mental training. And it is without any shadow of a doubt a state whose very concept is fundamentally based on the people, on the population as the primary and essential source of its very own prosperity and well-being, not just as physical bodies, but as dynamic and innovative creative units, as unique and creative individuals who contribute to the collective whole. Then, of course, such a state pays great attention to education, and specifically to education that helps children achieve understanding. This is very important. The examples are structured this way, the school curriculum is organized this way, the lessons themselves, the structure of the lesson, the very organization of school education. When, for example, the teacher keeps behind after class those children who did not understand and explains it to them again. In principle, the program is designed so that topics are repeated and repeated and repeated so that absolutely everyone understands. That is, when not a single person sitting in the classroom, not a single child is denied the opportunity to understand, to gain confidence in their own abilities, to know that they are smart, that they can do it, and to develop this skill of thinking, to develop and strengthen these neural connections. Ultimately, the personality of the person when this is not denied to anyone. Or in the way the lesson is structured, when the teacher explains something once, the first two people sitting here understand, but the other 38 sitting in the class don't understand anything at all. The students in the back rows basically didn't even hear what the teacher said. So right away, a huge number of people are cut off from understanding. And what does that mean? Essentially, what this truly signifies is that people lack the fundamental cognitive ability of critical thinking, and they lack the essential skill of logical reasoning. Consequently, as a direct outcome of this deficiency, we end up with individuals who, due to their underdeveloped intellect, are completely unable to navigate their way toward a viable solution when faced with a critical situation. Many individuals lack the fundamental cognitive skill of critical thinking, and people often don't have the necessary skill to identify what information they lack in order to make a sound decision. After all, when we solve, for example, mathematical problems, we always encounter something unknown, and we wonder how we can find out what is unknown and solve the problem. But in fact, this is a model for decision making in life. And the better a person gathers information about the situation they need to resolve, the more effective and successful their decision will be. But when a person hasn't developed this skill, when it isn't developed in them, when we take this strictly mathematical approach to complex situations, to modeling potential solutions, and to predicting the long-term consequences of one's own decisions, then we end up, you could say, with an artificially created foolish person who just does things mechanically. And when you look closely at it, the actual consequences of their actions seem completely and utterly destructive. And yet he just keeps doing it over and over. And you honestly start to think to yourself, is he just a complete idiot or what is going on here? This is an example of an uneducated person, even though as an organism he was originally, so to speak, well made, and he basically could have. He could have developed all of this in himself and could have become a smart, capable, and effective person. And so, states whose very concept of life does not require such a people. They don't need such a population. They don't need a huge number of individuals who, by reasoning, can create new fields. A state that does not understand that the true value of a country is its people, people who are capable of creating something. Such a state builds its concept on extracting profit from bodies. As I mentioned before, for example, medicine itself. That is, nowadays diseases have become a source of enrichment for pharmaceutical companies, for big pharma. It's as if doctors are endlessly treating something. They keep treating something, but they don't even know what they're treating. Treatment causes side effects, and then new pills are added to address those side effects, and so on and so on. So this is exactly that concept where people, crudely speaking, sorry for the bluntness, are like meat, like bodies that serve as a source of the state's livelihood, a source of life for the state. In other words, these are two different concepts, the existence of the state. And education is created according to these two different concepts. If your country has the kind of education I mentioned, whether good or bad, you can immediately understand which concept your state adheres to. Next question. Nadezhda Che sent a comment, this time not about education. Doctor, could you please tell me why my feet get cold from taking nicotinic acid? I took it for 2 weeks at a dose of 50, apparently, milligrams. Dear Nadezhda, your feet can get cold from taking nicotinic acid in 2 cases. First, nicotinic acid. In terms of its effect in the way it works with the body, it dilates peripheral blood vessels, meaning it acts on the periphery and improves peripheral circulation. You understand yourself that this is an effect where the peripheral blood vessels and capillaries dilate, heat escapes through them, and after taking a certain dose of nicotinic acid, a person may indeed feel chills after a while. There is nothing terrible about this. It is an absolutely physiological phenomenon. What can be done in this case? Just have some tea, maybe put on warm socks, stretch your legs a bit. There's nothing critical about it. There is another situation, since pellagra, as we call it, the mother of all vitamin deficiencies, pellagra as a rule, although it is possible to specifically identify pellagra among the whole spectrum of nutrient deficiencies, is usually associated with a large number of other deficiencies. And here it could be a case where another deficiency manifests, one that is linked to a deficiency of nicotinic acid. This is a deficiency of vitamin B1. That is also possible. Moving right along, the next question comes to us from Pavlik Zadunyashkin. Here is his comment. I always eat onions and garlic, and I drink a lot of water, specifically spring water. I constantly play sports, lead an active lifestyle, do physical work, take vitamins, and always eat honey and sugar. I don't use them. I don't smoke, I don't drink alcohol. But no matter what, once a year, at most twice, I still end up getting a fever for a day or two and come down with the flu. The family always brings it home. Someone from school, someone from kindergarten. I try to go to the banya or sauna regularly. Maybe I'll only get acquainted with the flu once a year. So, dear Pavlik, we have groups in Vkontakte, in Odnoklasniki, and on Facebook. Please subscribe, the link is in the box. Under this video there are links to all our groups. So there I regularly post selected quotes from books. These ones, yes, from the books by Professor Zlepsky, from these books which we have reproduced, which we found, which we revived for printing, for publication. So in one of these books, the situation where you drink a lot of water is described. It's described as an unfavorable situation because excessive water intake, when a person drinks more than necessary, leads to increased urination, and as a result, water-soluble vitamins are flushed out. As a direct consequence of this, you are essentially putting yourself in an entirely artificial situation. To deficiencies of water-soluble vitamins, such as vitamin C, for example. Therefore, I would also like to take this opportunity to offer a more general observation. It is important to remember that one should never do anything to a point of excess. As a matter of fact, there is a very well-known traditional saying in the Russian language. If you make a fool pray to God, he'll hurt his forehead. So you should do everything in the right amount, just as much as needed. You don't need to drink water by the liter. Unless you are in some hot country, or unless you are working in a steel mill at the blast furnace, you don't need to do that. A person should drink as much as they want. And the amount of liquid is always counted as a total. That includes the soup you ate, the tea or coffee you drank, and the water you drank. This is the total amount of liquid a person drinks in a day, and it's not divided into water, tea, or anything else. And if, for example, today you don't want to drink, or say you took 2 sips of water and just can't drink anymore, then you can't drink anymore, then you don't need to. You see? Then you don't need to. If you want to drink, say it's hot, for example, you've been working somewhere in the garden, on your plot, or just walking around the city, and you really feel that you want to drink, or you always have a bottle of water with you, then you need to drink. But you need to understand that with water, if you haven't overdone it beforehand, or if, for example, you are sweating actively, then during this sweating, minerals are released from the body. The body loses minerals, sweat is salty. Therefore, in such situations, you should definitely drink not just water, but mineral water, like Essentuki 17 or Borjomi or any other water that is available to you. Or you can simply buy salt tablets or just add some salt to your water. It's really up to you how you do it. But nevertheless, this is something you absolutely need to do because otherwise you might experience effects like, for example, getting a headache. And why does it hurt? Because the body has lost minerals and hasn't replenished them. And this headache feels as if you, well, in terms of the mechanism, it's like you've stayed too long or overheated in a sauna. And this happens precisely as a result of mineral loss. As a consequence, there is swelling of brain tissues, including the brain's membranes, and that's how you end up with a headache. I've answered 3 questions. Thank you very much. Please keep writing. I'd like to remind you that our channel uses comment approval. So if you don't see your comment, I always see your comments. I don't approve all of them. How I approve them, to be honest, is my own business. I can't say that I have any clear criteria. If I think a comment is appropriate for this video, I will publish it. If not, even if it's a good comment, I might mention it or just skip it. So that's how it works here. But I see all your comments and you can see that I make these videos. I'd like to remind you that when we reach 500,000 subscribers, we will definitely give away 3 sets of books among our subscribers. So please subscribe. This is not going anywhere. To Russia. The mail has started working again, so all these things have now been restored. Subscribe to our channel, and if you have any personal questions, maybe you're in a situation where you've just started taking vitamins, or you don't know how to take them, or something else, or you've tried but it's not working out, then of course you need to get tested for deficiencies, especially if you're undergoing some kind of treatment. If you don't know how to combine vitamins with medications, or if there's something else, this requires a targeted approach. It's absolutely impossible to give one pill that will help everyone. Under the vast majority of circumstances, the situation will inevitably require being carefully unraveled, meticulously analyzed, and thoroughly worked through to reach a resolution. So please come in for a deficiency test. We're here and we're waiting for you. Thank you all very much for your attention.